Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. You okay there? I am your host and keeper, the Harry Channel, and with me tonight, we have a fine panel of minions. Prospero.
Hello.
Dr. Black Space Jesus, aka DrFunctional.
Oh.
A festive Sora Luna.
Hello.
And SkepTock's got some mistletoe like on his junk or something there on his logo. I'm not really sure what that is.
Yes.
That's Christmas, right?
It's Christmas wreath.
Hmm. Okay.
Actual size.
Okay, good. Good. So how's everybody doing today? Prospero.
It's been kind of a sleepy day. It rained, and it hasn't rained in a while. So it was just one of those, ooh, no energy. Yay.
You feeling any better yet?
I do. I don't sound any better, but I feel significantly better. After after 2 weeks, I'm rather grateful for this.
Well, I mean, you at least get to talk to people. You were pretty miserable typing feebly on Discord going, I want to talk to people.
I know. And the first weekend I ran a favor, which made me even sadder because I just, felt like ass, but it was like, I'm lonely in my head, so it was just, it's just mournful. It was terrible. I don't know how I survived it. How are you?
How am I? Oh, I'm doing okay. I've been continuing to work on one of my customers who got terribly hacked, and they got ransomwared. And people are starting to go. People are into the phase now where all the virtue signaling starts, where people are saying, "Well, I don't really know what's going on, but I know if I was in charge, things would be going a lot better than they are now."
Oh,
God.
Okay.
Keep saying that.
You're the guys that got hacked. Shut up.
Yeah, so some VP came out and said, "Oh, it's going to take weeks and stuff," and I'm just like, "No, I've got it almost done. At least my part." I did something clever with an Ubuntu live disk. So instead of turning on systems that might be hacked to see if they're hacked, I basically booted them under Linux and then mounted the file systems and poked around at them using some patterns the security people found, and was able to safely figure out if they were hacked. How
many of them were How many of them were hacked, Harry?
How many of the ones of mine were hacked?
Yeah.
Well, of the ones that I was responsible for but didn't really administer, one. There were a couple others that got barely touched, but most of mine are fine.
Good.
In fact, the whole set of mine that I set up myself were completely untouched because they're basically immune to the hack that was used. I don't think anybody's going to give me a hard time about my security mindset going forward. Anyway, enough about
just call Dr. Black Space Jesus and he'll hook you up.
Yeah, well, I'm really good at thinking like a hacker, so I've so far got a pretty good track record of not getting hacked. Fingers crossed here.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can get hacked.
Yeah.
Just luckily, it's not my turn today. Let's see. But so I'm very, very tired. I mean, it was sort of work till 12:15, wake up at 6, start working at 6:15, work all day, put the show together, start this. This is the longest I've not worked all day.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, I get paid by the hour. I can't complain.
Yeah.
Hey, Black Space Jesus, how are you doing?
Yes, my son.
Man,
That's
a perfect
Joy
picture.
Reid. Somebody needs to do something to her.
She's the Black Space Mary Magdalene.
Who are we doing something to?
Suffer Joy Reid.
Oh no, she's
That
doing
molding.
We don't need to do anything to Joy Reid. She is own goaling herself more and more every day.
Yeah. Well, it was specific. Like I was normally I just don't care, but she took umbrage with Elon being Elon and paying his taxes.
Mm-hmm.
How dare he?
And the fact that he pays taxes, even though she claims he doesn't pay taxes. Or no, that was
Warren, I think.
Yeah,
Elizabeth Warren.
Pocahontas. Yeah. It was Pocahontas.
It was Warren.
And then Joy Reid took to her show and was talking about it. And then she had the gall to basically say that Karen is the new nigger.
Oh my God, you're kidding me. She
No.
did after he called her Senator Karen.
Yeah. She's like, that is black parlance or
the fuck it is.
She is so unaware.
She's
That's like-
insane.
That's
And
like-
normally when she says stupid shit, I just like, okay, it's Joy Reid being insane. What else is new? But that specifically, I was like, get out of here. You are beyond reproach.
Yeah, Liawatha. Actually, Karen is the female equivalent of Fredo, so kiss my ass.
Right?
I mean, it does
Give us
suck
some
if that's your
cement
name, though.
shoes.
Yeah, man, I feel bad for Karen's and Brandon's.
Well, how do you think I feel with the Harry and Meghan thing? I keep hearing people saying terrible things. Well, that Harry guy, he's stupid. He's cucked.
It's not me. I swear.
It's not me, but I mean, every time it happens, it kind of catches my attention a little bit.
And
thank God it's not me. I may have done a lot of dumb things in my life, but I never hooked up with Meghan Markle, so I've got that going for me.
Yet.
No, it's not going to happen, Skep.
And yes,
I'm not gonna move to Hollywood and hold her purse for her.
No kidding.
That's all he is a purse holder.
It's a funny world, Harry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what about you, Sora? You posted pictures of gorgeous food, but I think that was yesterday.
Yes, I took my mom out for a very early Christmas dinner because we have a bunch of other things we're going to be doing, but I wanted to go out, and there was a lovely restaurant that finally got reservations too. So that was fun. And then I came, and there was a lot of alcohol drunk, and I came home a bit warm.
I love the passive voice right there. There was a lot of alcohol drunk who drank the alcohol.
we drank the alcohol. The alcohol made me drunk. No, not really. It was just very, very high proof. So it was just a lot
Jump
of
right down my throat. All unsuspected.
Nice. Well, I liked you had for dessert. You had a deconstructed Battenberg cake, or what was it?
That's what I called it because it was just listed as Battenberg, and I love Battenberg cake.
Yeah.
And so that's what showed up, and I was like, okay, well, this is different. It's deconstructed. Okay, so that's why I called it that. It was okay. It wasn't the best, which was a little bit sad, but it didn't take away from how good the dinner was. A lot of places I find that, at least here, the food is delicious, but the desserts are not always the best. However, my mom had basically what was a lemon mousse. Yeah, the syllabub. So the lemon mousse is very good. So,
what was that sitting on top of it?
Burnt sugar. So like the top
okay,
of
thank you.
brulee,
Because
Is that made from real Canadian mousse?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes,
Cool.
yes. Canadian mousse, the West Coast Canadian mousse is slightly lemon flavor, so
Excellent.
it works very well in desserts.
The Myers mousse.
You have to blend it in the Vitamix really well to
I got it.
incorporate air into it. But
But
properly
only the white
aerated.
meat.
Yeah.
Only the white meat area part, which is sort of the underbelly.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good
You're
Myers
just like
mousse is hard to come by.
It is.
Underbelly is a strange word.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Don't think about it too much. Let's
I just
see.
think of Stacey Abrams. I don't know why. But anyway.
When I think of her, I just think of that meme that I sent to you with the picture of the corn where it had 2 rows of corn taken out on 2 sides and then like a strip in the middle. They're basically making fun of her. The gap in her teeth.
Yeah.
Stacey Abrams was here. Hey, Skep. How's it going?
Doing well. We had a good Star Trek stream today. Had a good bit of fun with Functional, Irate, Blind Press, and Hammer. And it's Christmas is at our throats again. Christmas Day, I am going to say goodbye to my wife and goodbye to my puppy. I'll probably never see the puppy again.
No.
And it's going to be a sad Christmas Day for me. So I'm looking forward to the Christmas Day stream if we're still planning to do that.
As far as I know, I mean, as long as I'm not going to be here by myself.
No, I've been using my predicament to extract every bit of goodwill from my wife, in self-pity. And I figured I'd go with that motif on the stream tonight.
'Tis the season to milk the hell out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, everything is fine. You know, the kids are all excited about Christmas, and we have almost completed our shopping. And the dogs are barking.
Yay, puppies!
And that's about that's about it. It's just my 69th Christmas on this earth. This is actually my 70th Christmas.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, because I was born in October.
Well,
Christmas comes so late in the year; it's almost that for everybody.
Well, luckily, the people at All Recipes or Just Recipes or Kirby Cooks or whatever, none of them have bothered to piss me off this week. So you don't have to listen to me rant about food. I'm sorry.
You mean there's no Let's Torture Functional segment this week?
Oh, no, there's still plenty of time to torture you.
I should have sent you the recipe I saw in All Recipes today then that uses frozen bread dough, like loaf bread dough, to make easy cinnamon rolls. I thought this would make Harry plots.
I have a recipe that I use for
regular bread dough?
Yeah. It's a shortcut instead of making your own dough.
Yeah, and if there's any left over, you can make authentic pizza. Okay, let's not get started in that. Let's instead
talk about coaching parents.
Talk about this
stuff.
So let me introduce this this thing. A number of people have already talked about this, but we may have a slightly different take than other people have taken on this. In the small town of Spreckles, California, a place that I have been before, a place that I know a little bit about. Spreckles, California is in the not woke part of California. It is a small town that was originally set up when the Spreckles Sugar Factory was there for quite a number of years. And it's like kind of a 10 block by 10 block kind of thing, where once a year they have a pancake breakfast where everybody just shows up and they all have breakfast together. They have fireworks on the 4th of July, and you can watch them from the little baseball diamond that they have set up. It is a very small town. And to think that anybody thought they could do something and get away with it in Spreckles, California, it puts them on the list of incredibly dumb people. Would somebody care to describe what's been covered in the news so far about this? Or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, why don't you?
Sounds like me. Okay.
Yeah.
So there was a young girl, I think she was in 6th grade, and teachers at this small school district had been secretly trying to recruit people into an LGBTQIIP group.
This was through basically a monitoring coded language.
Yeah, what they were doing is they were using, I think that they were looking at the searches that were done on school laptops that were handed out. That's the only way this story makes sense. And one of them was looking for something about like LGBT Pride Day. And they thought, oh, this is a good person to bring into our group. Well, they convinced this girl, pressured, groomed, whatever term you want to use, that she was really a boy, and gave her a new boy name to use. And then
changed her identification.
Yeah, changed her identification.
Without contacting the parents. I think, is she the one who was allergic to bees? I think.
That part I don't
know. There was another child who had their ID, their name changed in the school system. So that should anything happen, there was no way to correlate the person with the allergy, the actual medical records. And that was one of the parents who just lost it at the meeting.
Yeah. Well, here, just looking at the this article here, 2 teachers at Buena Vista Middle School in Spreckles were recorded coaching other students, coaching other teachers to conceal the nature of LGBTQ clubs for parents at a sold-out California Teachers Association conference held in Palm Springs, California. It just figures. From October 29th to 31st. The CTA event was billed as the 2021 LGBTQ plus issues conference beyond the binary, identity and imagining possibilities, the teachers led a workshop called How We Run a GSA in Conservative Communities. Here we go. And described the obstacles that they face as activist teachers to conceal the activities of GSA clubs from parents. Yeah, you ain't concealing shit in Spreckles. Spreckles Union School District officials have not responded directly to inquiries, but SUSD did post an alert on website notifying the community that school staff involved in an alleged incident had been suspended pending an independent third-party investigation. Yeah, Abigail Schreier basically got a hold of this stuff and has been sort of pushing it. So they did a number on this one girl, and then they brought in the parent to explain what they've been doing here. The teacher told Conan, her daughter, this is the mother, was trans fluid. And the mother's like, I sat across the table and I was crying. I was trying to absorb everything. They kept looking at me angrily because I kept saying she, and that it was going to take me time to process everything, she said, the mom. I was very confused. I was very upset. I was blindsided, completely blindsided. Well, yeah, because they did all this stuff without including her. The teacher accused the mother of not being emotionally supportive of her daughter, who was to be called by a new name and male pronouns and would be using the unisex restroom at school, because that always works out.
Can I just stop you right there just for a second?
Okay.
The teacher accused the mother of not being emotionally supportive.
Oh, but it gets so much worse, Skep.
Oh, I know, but that to me, if people don't know what parents do for their kids, I mean, parents who are involved, parents who are, really raising their children. If somebody said that's one of the things that might just provoke me to violence, would be if somebody said that you don't support your children, you're not being emotionally supportive, you don't love your children, I'd get violent. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's not much of a threat from a 70-year-old, but I'd feel good about it. I am just so impressed that she did not come apart on that teacher.
These people,
and you're right. It does. It gets 1,000 times worse. I'm sorry, Harry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Hold on. Jenna's trying to get in.
Two quick things. One, let's not gloss over the fact that the school board acronym is SUSD.
It's very susty.
And two, they sell tickets to PTA meetings like that. Maybe it's just they use the
they use it to pay for the pancakes.
Euphemism.
Yeah.
Or maybe they actually do sell tickets, but like that's
so basically the smirky teacher made the mom feel like shit. And then a few days later, Child Protective Services had been contacted, and the local police department showed up at her door, and they had a little chat with the kids that were there and said, hey, do you still want to live here, considering that your mom is supposedly a monster? The police quickly dropped this. Even Child Protective Services is like, yeah, no. This is just not going to happen.
They didn't want to be named in a class action suit, I think, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So there were several different
Yes.
different meetings that went on, and one of these subsequent meetings, the mom found out that, oh, by the way, when we were going through her search history for no particularly good reason, we also found out that she was looking up information about suicide, but they never bothered to tell the mom about that or do anything about that. The girl,
what?
The girl,
yeah,
has also was because it's not like her life wasn't being thrown into all kinds of upheaval. So this story continues. There's a Twitter thread here that let me see. Do I have sound turned on for this?
Oh yeah, this was wrong.
This is hard to listen to, by the way, for anyone with kids.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I was listening.
Not just her, the rest of them.
Let me make sure. Okay, yeah, we actually need sound for this. Let's do the mom.
Let these teachers come in and act as if they have nothing wrong. They've done nothing wrong. A mistake? How long of a mistake? How many mistakes are we going to take before my child almost lost her life? They didn't tell me that my child...
Yeah, she didn't take the news about her kid being suicidal all that well.
Good for her.
Yeah, and so things happened, and there was a meeting, and it looks like the school district actually kind of sort of did the right thing. At the end of this, the general outcome it was the student club mentioned the article UBU has been suspended. Any future student clubs will be required to submit an outline of all activities and materials before being allowed to meet. Student sign-in sheets will be maintained and parent guardian permission slips will be sent home prior to a club holding a meeting. All messages shared in the morning announcements. Oh yeah, one of these activists decided to take over the morning announcements role so they could control the narrative of the school news because they are true believers. Will now be controlled and distributed by the site principal. The practice will be in place permanently. Any presentation or assembly involving sensitive themes such as sexuality will be created in line with state-approved standards and curriculum and under the supervision of site and district administration. Materials of any sensitive themes will be shared with parents, guardians prior to being shown to students. Teachers are prohibited from monitoring students' online activity for any non-academic purposes. I'd say we won.
Yeah. Although that's a little bit of a loophole, that last one, but yes.
I think that's about as good a response as you could hope for, other than putting these two teachers in the stocks and throwing rotten vegetables at them.
My guess is they consulted an attorney.
No, I think you're underestimating how this is not the rest of California.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you pull this shit in a more conservative.
I understand that because the school board isn't made up of the lunatics that are part of their teaching staff.
Right.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they consulted an attorney because I mean, the fact that the police would show up to speak to the mother about being a big old meanie pants and not be at the school wanting to talk to the teachers involved in this as to why they were grooming teenagers sexually.
This girl was barely a teenager.
Preteens.
Well, that's what they were doing. They were grooming.
Yeah.
And those teachers belong on a sex offender registry.
Yeah.
They're groomers. Yep. They're sick, twisted fucks who are driven by some kind of perverse ideology that they can mold these childless bitches. I mean, almost guarantee that they think they're successful parents because their cats haven't committed suicide.
Yeah. Well, I've mentioned that I went to, when I was in kindergarten, there was this one kid. He was different. Actually, I knew him from preschool. And he was clearly on some kind of gender spectrum thing. Now, I've mentioned this to people who are trans and stuff, and they tell me that, oh, you can't identify people that early. And I've heard a whole bunch of things from people who should know more than I do, but I can't stop believing what my lying eyes told me.
Yeah.
Which was this kid was different. And so this is my personal experience. You know, nice enough guy. He just kept putting on dresses all the time. I'm not kidding. He wasn't doing it to be like Milton Berle. I mean, he was different. So there are people like that. Yeah. But the teachers, it's not their responsibility to shape the gender fluidity of this kid. It's like maybe talk to the parents and see if you can provide some kind of help, because ultimately it's a burden. Because when this happened, you know, this was a long time ago because I'm kind of sort of old, and it was a big deal. Yeah. It wasn't like this kid was going to be accepted. He was not accepted at all. I mean, they ultimately had to take him out of school and send him away somewhere where he could be fabulous without people, you know, doing horrible things to him. Like I said, nice guy. I never had an issue with him, but I mean, a lot of people did. Go ahead.
Sometimes different is just different too. It doesn't mean that person, that child, is gonna grow up to be trans or gay or whatever. Sometimes different is just different, and it's nobody's right outside of that person to discover that.
Yeah, I mean, he could be the new Givenchy. He just liked dresses because he wanted to design them. Who knows?
I don't know. Trans or gay, I'd say the odds are pretty high with
if this person was not a teacher, if this was just somebody in the community doing these types of things to a child,
oh my God,
nobody would have any qualms.
They'd be arrested.
If this was Scientology, if they were like saying, "Hey, why don't you come down to the Scientology mission in Monterey and we'll do a personality test on you?" Do you think anybody would be going, having the super happy fun Scientology club that would be accepted? No.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, your kid is now a Scientologist, and if you love your kid, we need a check for $10,000 so we can do a communications rundown on this kid. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want us to remove the child from the home so that they can go join the Sea Org?
Exactly. Hi, Jenna.
Hi, Jenna.
Hey, Jenna.
Hey, Jenna.
Good evening.
Jenna's a tiny seal in the bottom right corner. So what were you going to say?
Oh, sea lion.
Oh.
So,
Robo Jenna.
Yeah, you're roboing Jenna. Jump out and jump back in, huh?
Okay. Well, let's see. While we're waiting for Jenna, who's...
I know someone who was a true...
No, it's not working.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, so I know someone who was a true hermaphrodite. There we go. I got the word. They are
Was his name Jack Gunstein?
a lot older than me, but
What the hell? What the hell did that? Where the hell did that come from? Don't be an ass, functional.
God damn.
I know this isn't exactly what you're talking about with the teacher grooming and stuff, but the parents chose for her to be a girl because they had a daughter, and then they did tests, and it turned out she had both parts, but male chromosomes.
Right.
So he likes to say he went to bed a lesbian and woke up straight.
At least he's got a sense of humor about it, because that's a difficult path for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yes, he has a very good sense of humor about it. But he has talked to me about how it wasn't spoken about, but it would be in the medical charts, and back then they weren't really that good about keeping secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And teachers would say things that they shouldn't say. Like, I don't want to, because I don't know how much would out him, but things such as so can you see both things? Teachers
talking about,
would say this to him.
You're talking about both sets of genitalia? What do you mean both things?
Yes.
Both sets of genitalia.
Oh, well, I mean, it depends. Sometimes they'll do surgery to say, okay, well, you got an X and a Y. We're going to keep the protruding bit and get rid of the other part.
Well,
and sometimes they don't do surgery at all. It just depends.
This person is 70 years old.
A little late.
And these teachers were, when he was in junior high school, were asking him inappropriate questions about the fact that the teachers that knew, because apparently no one cared about
privacy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think people have been born with various things, abnormalities, as in statistically not normal, for a very long time. And it's probably a good thing that we're not abusing the hell out of people who, through no fault of their own, are born a particular way. That's progress, right? I think we're all comfortable with that. What we're not comfortable with is rapid onset gender dysphoria, where you see cliques of 4 girls who suddenly all say that they're gender fluid. And statistically, that's like impossible. I mean, there's no way in hell that 4 girls would just suddenly discover, that collectively, oh yeah, I'm trans. It's like, that doesn't happen. There's some social thing going on, and that's what Abigail Schreier's been talking about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous that, or pan fluid or whatever. My point to what I was sharing was the teachers were creepy then.
Oh, teachers are.
Two.
Teachers are in a
Yes.
competition with actors to figure out which of them can be more disgusting. I'm sorry. So what were you going to say, Skep?
You're not wrong. Oh hell, it was just some brief comment. Move on.
And my
Okay.
comment to Jack is just I haven't given him shit at least once this week, so I kind of got to do that before the week is over.
Yeah.
Just once.
All right. So we have a fairly loose schedule, but it's not quite that loose. Let's see. We are behind. So this happened at Fox News. Oh, wait. No, this is a longtime CNN producer, John Griffin, interacted with kids while feds investigated child sex abuse allegations. Anybody want to talk about this? Here, let's look at this picture.
Plato's producer, right?
Yeah, does he look like
He looks totally straight. Probably a seafaring man. I'm thinking a bosun man.
Yeah, this is his drunk driving arrest mugshot.
Oh,
nice.
lovely.
He also probably used it on his employee ID.
How can people think they look good like that?
Hell if I know.
He looks like an AIDS-riddled Joss Whedon.
Oh god,
God,
You're
yes,
not
kind of look like
wrong.
Josh Whedon.
Yeah, it's pretty good functional.
And by that I mean like skinny, disheveled kind of.
All right.
It's
Why?
just go ahead.
Go ahead.
Functional, then Sora, go.
I'm constantly amazed that in these circles of progressive spheres that you can't even swing a dead cat without hitting at least 3 pedos or some sort of what even in today's more accepting world would consider some kind of sexual deviant, like Fredo.
Well, there's always some sort of harasser or kitty diddler or something in one of these
Exactly.
groups. Even wasn't there one in the Lincoln Project too?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in any organization, you're going to have a few, but it seems like CNN might have more than its fair share, shall we say?
The guy.
Would any? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say one of the heads of the Lincoln Project was grooming young men.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump's evil. Remember this.
Yeah, but I mean, it seems like it's this actual pandemic on what we colloquially call the left in these spheres that the concentration is higher than normal, and these people are in more higher up positions of authority than usual. Like, sure, Weinstein was a douchebag, and there was some stuff there, but it's more concentrated and seems to be more aligned with these progressive messages, and it makes you do a thunk.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit like the male feminists and the abusive creeper crowd within that group.
Yeah, because they seem to have a large concentration of abusers.
Well, it's part of it is the sneaky fucker.
Yeah.
But the cuttlefish, they get themselves into positions where they have access.
A manipulative sociopath. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't go at the alpha males head on, so they just act effeminate. This is in the animal kingdom we're talking about, and then they figure the guy who's basically running the animal harem just sort of ignores him. It's just an effeminate little fish. He's not a problem. And then as soon as the alpha's off fighting with another alpha, he's like, oh, okay. And he zips in and starts nabbing at the females.
Well, actually, for the cuttlefish, he actually, they changed their appearance to appear female.
It happens in a number of different species.
And then they get behind enemy lines, so to speak.
Yep.
And they get to fertilize all the eggs.
I'm an ally. I won't touch your no square. And then suddenly, then they head right in.
Yeah,
you could say Bill Nye is that type.
Yes, I would say that
Nye,
Sex Junk Alone video was like, I would keep him as far away from children as possible.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, well, let's
He
see.
spent his career around children.
I understand.
And it's not like we haven't had these issues in society since time immemorial. There will always be scumbags of this caliber. However, they seem to be highly emboldened by these messages, these groups, and accepted as maps and all this stuff.
Moral relativism, baby.
It's a pandemic.
Well, you ruined my segue, and for that,
First
Sora,
time for everything.
Yes.
did you get a chance to look at this?
Oh, I looked through it. Yes.
Ivy League swimming champion becomes target of transphobic rhetoric. So
let me bring up the. Sorry.
we've been talking about this in the greater monkey sphere around this corner of YouTube a lot, right? Because it's not normal for somebody to knock 18 seconds off a swimming record.
No.
This is not what
That
you
could
would call
totally happen.
normal female athletic performance. But
It was a real woman who did it.
But I was really surprised to see this article from NBC News, and it feels like MSNBC is kind of taking over regular NBC.
Yes.
Check out this article. A swimmer at the University of Pennsylvania, there's the picture, at the University of Pennsylvania is the largest target in the culture war debate over whether transgender girls and women should be allowed to participate on female sports teams. Leah Thomas, featured here, who came out as trans in 2019, set 3 school records and 2 additional national records at a meet this month, because that's what athletes do. Since then, Thomas has faced criticism and verbal attacks from anti-trans groups, conservative media, and reportedly even 2 teammates. Yeah, 2 teammates spoke out because they were like, I'm not really sure there's any point in trying anymore.
Yep.
That's a man, baby.
Yeah, and I'm not anti-trans. I know if some, like I said, like that kid I went to school with. I mean, I know trans people. I have no problem with people being trans.
My stepdaughter is trans, and if I showed this to her, she would say this is bullshit.
I don't know any trans people who think this is okay, but these people at NBC seem to think so. What were you going to say, Sora?
Well, it becomes kind of this insidious feeling that now, and I don't know if this is what happened in this case, but it could happen in the future where people are like, okay, I cannot, and we're talking about education here as well. So people, one of the ways you can get an education is through a sports scholarship, right? So if you can't make it through, say, your own gender because you are not fast enough, or they're not looking at you favorably for whatever reason, could you not go this route? And it's very hard to say that, because I definitely wouldn't want to blame anyone or saying that what they're doing is fake, because we don't know.
But the person hasn't been on hormones long enough for it to impact their
Exactly. It's been a couple of years, and it could be because they are now out of the sphere of a conservative family, and they have had the ability to actually speak with a therapist. And they could have done everything correctly. Check mark, check mark, check mark. It does not take away from the fact that this is someone who still has the height, the strength of someone who has genetically had testosterone their whole life, and trained up to that their whole life up to this point, and is now
biologically male.
Exactly. And it becomes very, very concerning, because you can't just say, oh, well, a trans man's going to have the same advantage, because they're not going to, because they were biologically female up until the point they started transitioning. And while testosterone can do a whole lot of stuff to them, it's not going to equal them suddenly beating all the men in wrestling or swimming. So it is different when it comes to trans women in this particular case, just from the hormone standpoint and development and puberty
bone
and all
density,
that.
muscle strength, quick twitch, muscle reflex, all of that.
Even with these transitions, it never goes the other way, because they may have more markers of being male in this female in this case, in this type of case. But they're not fully male. So even if this female, sorry, and then if you reverse that, you never see the opposite, because they still cannot compete with the men.
They can't.
In most sports, it's very, very rare that you have a sport. There's no men's sports. It's just a sport. And the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, there's no rules against women. This is just the upmost echelon of sport. Anybody can compete. If there's some genetic freak of a woman, natural born woman who can hang with the boys, they're more than welcome to be on the court or pitch or ice.
Functional, you're bringing up something very interesting. What about the WNBA, which has some fairly significant money that has been brought to bear in that group? They're not doing super great, but some of the athletes get paid a lot of money. Let's say that you were kind of a mediocre fella basketball player, had been everything at your small college, and then you get to the NBA and you find out you're mostly a bench warmer.
Yeah.
And you say to yourself, I'm feeling like a girl today. And you decide that you are trans and you transition to the WNBA, and suddenly you are LeBron James of the women.
Well, you need to make those claims, because
why won't that happen?
It's funny you bring up the WNBA, because there are specific rules that state no men allowed.
Yep.
This is a league for women, so women can compete against women.
But these are real women. These are real women. They are just as real as they were women who were born with penises.
Well, let me go back to the article for just a moment.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Hijacked it completely.
Some of the headlines about Thomas's win said she smashed the records and continued her dominant season alongside pre-transition photos of her, and used her previous name and male pronouns, practices known as dead naming and misgendering. If there was any doubt that this is an advocacy piece and not a news article, it should be gone at this point.
Yeah.
And whether or not we solve the transgender athlete question tonight here, I don't need to solve that. I don't need to answer that question. I don't need to think about bone density or anything else. My problem is they don't want to let these women, biological women who are on this team, have an opinion.
No,
they're not allowed to have an opinion. I'm sorry, they are allowed to have an opinion. They Leah Thomas can say, I think I should be able to swim, and they should have every right to say, I don't think this is fair. Why shouldn't they have that voice?
And the thing is that as we go further into the piece, they kind of say, oh, well, she ticked all the right boxes that was legally set for her to have been on testosterone inhibitors, etc., do hormone therapy, but she still for the first few years swam part of the male team before transitioning and joining the female team.
Well, she's so clearly superior in terms of athletic performance versus all the biological females that whatever system they came up with is not fit for purpose, because there's no competition.
No.
If competition is gone, sport is gone.
For what they say, the NCAA says that if since 2011 they've set the guideline that a trans athlete has to have been 1 full year in hormone therapy before they can compete, amongst other things, for their transitioned gender. So, which she met, according to this article and according to her. But then she does say, like, it seems that she started doing hormone therapy, while still competing on the men's team. So that timeline could be false. It could be true. I don't know. But if she did, in fact, the female team says, yeah, you met the standard. This was the standard since 2011 by the NCAA, that, okay, you have to have just 1 year under full. So maybe that's where the problem is, is if she's followed everything. The two problems are this. The committee has the wrong rules in place because 1 year is not sufficient. And then the school itself, like you said, Harry, is trying to suppress and silence the other team members who totally have the right as part of the team to voice their concern. Now, at the end of the day, their choice may be you either swim for our university or you get out. And fine, that's fair. That's going to be the new rules of the university. That's going to be the rules of the university. It doesn't have to be 100% fair, but at least let them say their piece. Don't try to suppress them.
But there's a problem. If it's a private school, they absolutely can do that. If it is a public school that accepts government money in the United States, they absolutely can't do that.
Title IX.
Because if you look at the difference in free speech rights across universities, if it receives public money and it's a public university, they cannot stifle free speech in this manner legally. They're all of the things that we all want, are all the rights and privileges are in conflict with each other, and we're just kind of clumsily trying to figure out what we're supposed to do about it. But having it not be competitive and then telling the girls that they can't complain about it is wrong, in my opinion.
I agree with you.
I don't care how this person identifies, what's quote unquote wrong with them, that they need some sort of medical procedure to make their lives tolerable, livable to them, what have you. We don't allow medical procedures to enhance people. We don't allow people in sport, men to take steroids. We don't allow them to this is to me, this is my hot take. We don't allow that kind of stuff for good reason, because it's supposed to be a more natural display of athleticism, and we just allow this, which is basically the same. You're allowing people to genetically change themselves through medical procedures that already have an innate advantage. Yes, this is going to lessen her advantage to Leah's advantage to men in her skill set that were on the same level if she was still a man, but she's still going to have that advantage over the women. So why is this different?
A very significant thing in addition to the testosterone. Women actually do make testosterone, believe it or not. Yeah. They manufacture it in their, surprisingly, ovaries, yes, and their adrenal glands. They have about 5 to 10% as much testosterone per unit weight as a man does. But the distribution of norms of what a normal range of testosterone is, the ranges actually come fairly close to each other. Men who are low testosterone and women who are high T are fairly close to each other. The big advantage that these athletes are having probably doesn't come as much from testosterone as it comes from having grown up for 20 years with the increased testosterone. Exactly. You get thicker bones, you get thicker, stronger muscles. The connective tissue, the cartilage literally is thicker. You just have a bigger, more rugged body with a higher percentage of fat, what's called fast twitch muscles. And that combination is damn near unbeatable athletically.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to segue to this next thing because we're still talking about athletics here. This is very, very important. Come on, again from NBC News. Load, you piece of crap.
Harry's got the loads.
Load.
Because women's sport is supposed to be a safe space.
Yeah, it was supposed to be.
I'm waiting for the lame basketball players to start joining the WNBA. I really think that's going to happen.
Yep. Can I read a section from the introduction of the NWCA Inclusivity Handbook for Transgender Athletes?
Please.
So this is just interesting, just to see. This is their rationale. This is not necessarily me commenting, but just so people understand where they are coming from. So it's under a section titled, Should the Participation of Transgender Student Athletes Raise Concern About Competitive Equity? And they list that this question stems out of 3 assumptions. And the second assumption that they list is that some people fear that transgender women will have an unfair advantage over non-transgender women. It is important to place that fear in context. Transgender girls who medically transition at an early age do not go through the male puberty, and therefore their participation in athletics as girls does not raise the same equity concerns that arise when transgender women transition after puberty. Transgender women display a great deal of physical variation, as there is a great deal of natural variation in physical size and ability among non-transgender women and men. Many people may have a stereotype that all transgender women are unusually tall and have large bones and muscles, but that is not true. And it goes on.
Well,
they're making shit up.
Jazz, is that her name? Or
Yeah, Jasmine. Jazz, yeah.
What do you think? Do you think
Well-
she could compete on a woman's team as a fair woman? Because her parents put her on hormone blockers as soon as she could say, "I'm a boy," at 2. Well, not exactly, but you know what I mean.
I mean, if this has become such a big phenomenon that there are all these trans athletes in all these different sports, why not have trans leagues? We have, and I don't mean this in a disparaging or demeaning way, we have the Paralympics for a reason.
Yes.
I think that's a great idea.
The same reason why we have a women's leagues is because it allows people of similar stuff to compete.
Yes.
But men and women can both play Quidditch.
Jesus Christ.
See? Quidditch to change names, citing J.K. Rowling's
What?
anti-trans positions. Yes. The real sport, the totally real sport, which was inspired by the Harry Potter books, said it hopes to distance itself from the author and expand its growth
You know what
potential.
the author should freaking do? I think she should send a cease and desist letter at these assholes, because this is her intellectual property that they've stolen.
Well, look, it's men and
Fucking
women
losers,
playing together. And look at this.
Well,
look at
you're
this guy
right, Sora.
dominating,
You're
too.
absolutely right.
Excuse me.
Number one, these are twits running around
With the
doing-
broom between their legs.
Worms
It's actually
beneath their legs.
really
Doing a-
funny. I've watched a few games locally
well, it's
here.
funny. It's
but-
funny, but they're taking themselves so seriously now that they're going to virtue signal. You are playing a make-believe game in a make-believe book about make-believe wizards, you fucking assholes. And now you're going to run around and go, well, the make-believe game in the make-believe book that we love is by that bad person who doesn't like trans people, which is not the case with J.K. Rowling. The case with J.K. Rowling is she said feminists are getting steamrolled by trans activists.
Well, see, trans people could play Quidditch, but unfortunately, since it reminds them of J.K. Rowling, that makes them sad, so they can't. So they're going to make it more inclusive by changing the name of the fake game to something else.
Are they going to use Quadpot, which is technically the American version? I don't know why they use Quidditch, because takes place. Is this in the States?
This is in the States. This is UCLA
so they're
versus
even
somebody.
They're playing the wrong game,
This is
because Americans, you guys play Quadpot.
I didn't
Don't
know
play
this even
Quidditch.
existed. Shouldn't we just go back to like the Aztec thing where you take your enemy's head and then you throw it through a stone hoop on a wall? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
whoever
There was
loses
that, and
gets
there was the
sacrificed.
Roman version of basketball.
Yes.
Until those brooms take off and they're flying around playing it like it's in
well,
the
Talik
book.
is asking that. See, look, there's the brooms, and in their minds, they identify as
She
flying.
knows how to ride that broom for all right.
It's
And
the only time she picks
Honest,
up a broom.
I
honest to
hope
God.
the men-
I wonder if they're broom sniffers in the locker rooms.
Yeah,
I
probably.
hope the men get squished and they're unable to procreate.
I'm not sure that they had a high chance of procreation to begin with, Jim.
Yeah, these are not high tea guys.
Well, anyway,
Not
this
for the
makes
local
me
thing.
sad, and these people are dumb.
Yes, they are. They're stupid.
I can't
But
believe
the-
it's a
the-
college team.
That was something
Come
that
on.
supported my point of intramural sport. It's still a thing. I used to
What
be
is
on
happening?
a
You forgot. Wait, you forgot. Oh. Okay.
No, I didn't. I forget anything. Look, I win.
I used to be on a dodgeball league, and that was intramural because the men and the women had different advantages.
Yes.
The women were typically
Shorter.
harder to hit, so
Yeah.
they were frontline people on the team. They were more lithe. They didn't catch as much. That's why the men were right behind them, ready to catch that dodge. And everybody could compete. There was no
It was like
Yeah.
delineation
ultimate, it was
between
like
men and
ultimate
women's teams.
frisbee. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. There's some sports that are just like that.
Badminton, volleyball.
Shooting is a prime example of a sport
Shooting
that
too,
does not
yeah.
give a shit about gender. Archery will because of pound bow pressure.
So if I were a smart progressive, I know a little bit of an oxymoron in our current climate, but I would, instead of championing these sports that do have that delineation. I would be championing intramural sport that showcases both genders in a single game.
Well, we can't have nice things.
Harry, shrink it a little bit. You're clipping on the sides there.
I can't.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
Here, let me see what I can do.
Carry
here.
on.
Is that better?
There we go. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to skip the next thing for time, and we're going to go straight to this horrible thing. Did you guys hear about this?
I did.
Medics refused to enter care facility to help patient due to COVID law. Yeah, basically at a post something care facility, post-acute care facility, somebody was having a heart attack, and so they called for EMTs, and the fire EMTs show up and they say, well, because of some COVID rule or other, we can't go inside the facility. You'll have to bring the patient out to us. So the bed that the patient was on didn't have any wheels on it. So a cop shows up, and this is also in California. California's looking great here today. Goes in and helps them slide the bed with no wheels out to the thing. And until it basically crosses outside, these guys won't do anything.
And then one of them questioned
and they were in direct sight of the door.
Yeah.
The paramedics. So it wasn't like they had to go through some dark tunnel up 3 stairs. They could see where they had to go to help the individual.
It doesn't matter. The law says they're there to render care. And
well, that's the thing. The police officers, like, they say some law is telling them not to. They say they don't need to come in.
Yeah, they're full of shit. They're
absolutely. Well, who knows what they were told and by who?
Yeah,
somebody in their chain of command could have said anything to them.
Oh yeah,
Trinity mentions that,
and then they goddamn believed it. You know, I mean, fuck's sake. I mean, if you're an EMT, wouldn't you question that to begin with if you're an EMT?
Well, at the time when somebody said that to me, I'd be like, wait, what?
Yeah, I'd look it the hell up. I'd say, you better show me the goddamn law.
Are you serious? I'm not going to render aid to somebody if they're inside the building?
I mean, these guys, if they lose their jobs, which they're highly likely to do, and the civil suit is going to be magnificent, the
person died, by the way.
They're never, ever going to be able to get work in anything medical related in the state of California.
Well, this is in Rialto, California. There are over 80 jobs open right now for EMS people in that town. So, you know, they're even short-staffed in terms of EMS. That seems pretty bad.
Yes.
Sorry, Skep, you were trying to say something.
I had a question. Partially covered the guy died, and it probably is hard to tell whether or not the inattention of the paramedics was instrumental in, was the key to him dying or not. But what if the person in the building was bleeding to death? Bleeding really, like, you've got about 2 minutes to act and that person's gone.
Like the Black Knight and Holy Grail, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yes, arterial bleeding type of thing. What I'm trying to say is that would the extreme nature of an emergency affect their judgment to go into a building or no? Or would they say, no, even though we can see that he's bleeding to death through the open door, we're not going to go in there because rules. And we're not going to put a tourniquet on that arm and save his life because rules. Would they do that? Is that what the rule requires?
I don't think they even asked. I mean, the body cam. I mean, from my understanding, there is nothing on there that indicates them quizzing anybody about the age.
No. I was posing it as a hypothetical process.
Yeah, because but what I mean is,
if it had happened that the person was bleeding to death, this person was not bleeding to death.
Why would that matter?
Well, that's my point.
Well, there's only two things that matter. One is, are we talking about somebody who's professional EMS versus some sort of bystander? And then it's, what kind of state are you in? And is there a legal responsibility to provide care in either of those cases? Or is there not a legal responsibility? Because there are cases where Good Samaritan laws will not protect you. And it doesn't matter if that person's bleeding out, you can't help them. But as a professional, those laws usually don't apply. And as far as I know, you have an obligation to render aid, especially, you know, if you're working for the city. I mean, these are fire people. These aren't even private EMS. They actually work for the city, took an oath. Their job is to protect and serve. And it seems to me it's a dereliction of their duty to not provide aid.
Well, the police officer was bumfuzzled, which is why he went tearing into the building.
Well, the police officer didn't get the briefing from whatever idiot told these guys COVID says they can't go inside the facility.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you know, I mean, they weren't even inquiring as to the age or prior condition and of admission to the individual and why they were in arrest. I mean, you've got somebody in cardiac arrest. They could have been 18 years old. They could have just had open heart surgery and had to go back there because there's no family in the area, and they needed to have the post-acute care rehabilitative time period in one of these care facilities. I mean, it just doesn't, it's absolutely perverse to me. And what really pissed me off is one of the dickheads didn't move to help the person. One of them moved to help him, and that other dickhead stood there and started questioning the staff.
Yeah.
And not in a, can you give me details or that kind of stuff. You know, what drugs are they on? That kind of deal. I mean, it just seemed very peculiar. And I mean, the cop is going to be the best witness in any lawsuit brought, because he just seemed utterly confused as to why paramedics wouldn't do their fucking job.
Oh, well, it's a mystery. I've been trying to get more information on it, but I haven't found anything.
Harry, you're having some static from your mic?
I am?
Yeah,
it just started happening when you brought this up.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
It's
the
pretty
story.
Bad. Maybe. I will say that this cop, because he arrived on scene, he heard what was going on, he charged right in there, went right to the patient's room, and was like, let's fix this problem. Let's try to get this done. Didn't stop to argue, was befuzzled, but then charged in there, tried to get shit done. Guy's a freaking hero. That's exactly what you want in first responders and police and fire.
Pat on the back.
Those firefighters, and that because it was the one paramedic of the two that said he wasn't going in, did not. The other one kind of was like, I don't know what to do. These people need to be. I'm a little conflicted because I do believe that the do no harm is to do no active harm. There's a part of me that's sort of saying it's a little like inaction is not doing harm, but in this case, like you take an oath, you take a job where it is your duty to be that intervening force, to render care. Exactly. So it's a little bit different than you going to the doctor and saying, "Oh well, you know, I need a something done," and the doctor says, "No, I don't want to do that." That's a little different than this, which is you're in an emergency first responder situation. How's it sound, Gary?
Still crappy?
No,
you're good.
Sounds good.
No, you're
Thank
good.
you.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to get on that before you actually said something.
Oh, no. StreamYard's, I don't know. I can't think of a metaphor right now, but StreamYard's was being stupid. All right. So, because my equipment.
Kamalaris.
And if anybody's more interested, check out the body cam footage, because it's both heartbreaking and telling of the character of some of these people.
I'm not
That
allowed
cop
to
is
kill
just
people, so I shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't. So, now in terms of we actually going into the things that make me happy, London Breed, the mayor of San Francisco, actually managed to stumble upon a clue, which I didn't think such a thing was even possible. Mayor Breed is leaning into a crackdown on crime and drugs. What happens if she can't deliver on her promises?
What about that whole defund the police thing that she supported earlier?
Well, she's a weather vane. I mean, in San Francisco, to be mayor, you have to know how to play the games. But things have gotten so bad in San Francisco that the very liberal mayor is finally calling for more police and more money spent and harder enforcement. Now, with Chesa Bodine as the district attorney, I'm not sure how she's going to pull this off. But you've heard me say on more than one occasion that London Breed is not a complete idiot, which surprises me, being mayor of San Francisco. But she kind of has a clue. She all of a sudden wants there to be more law enforcement. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going to slight her for suddenly figuring out the right
donors
answer.
to the party have spoken, my friend.
Yeah, well, San Francisco's become unlivable for
that's
most
it.
people.
No, the money people there have spoken, and they're like, if you want a Democrat to ever get elected in this city again using our money, fix this shit.
Well, Addie's not wrong. The name alone is a bit much. It's a bit of a name, but she's not. Yeah, even San Francisco's starting to realize there's got to be a limit to how much they're going to put up with, because they're not going to have any employers. They're not going to have any businesses. All they're going to have is just homeless people and shit on the sidewalks and an empty town with tumbleweeds going through the streets pretty soon.
Yeah, they bought and paid for it.
Yep.
I'm with you, Harry. Give credit where credit's due, because the new mayor of New York.
Yeah.
They might be shitbag progressives people, but they are at least seeing, okay, well, we need to do something. Unlike a certain Mayor Beetlejuice, Lori Lightfoot of Chicago, who's been in the position for over a decade now and still hasn't done anything, and still people, mostly black, are dying by the hundreds and thousands, and she doesn't care. And people, I'm talking to the progressives out there right now, if there are any. You people have to hold those people accountable so that when things go bad, like what Mayor Breed is doing, they change and they are willing to go, okay, yeah, we fucked up. Defund the police was stupid. Now we've got to save the city and we've got to save the people. Because you cannot have San Fran, as bad as it is, New York, as bad as it is not Chirac. Chirac is really, really bad. I see some of these police videos.
Killed,
it's terrible. Yeah.
You know,
black on black crime is
horrific. I mean,
but even then,
killing
Jenna,
fields
it's
in
bleeding.
Chicago. It's just awful,
and it's bleeding out into quote unquote air quotes here regular society, regular city life. It's that
a little girl in
gang
McDonald's
violence
line
is bleeding out. Yeah, and it's heartbreaking. It's so terrible.
Yeah. Well, you know what's terrible? What's even more terrible is this. This article from Refinery 20. The dangerous rise.
Says it all.
The dangerous rise of men who won't date woke women. Lawrence Fox is almost as good at pissing people off as Elon Musk.
Laza is a Chad. He's the hero. We actually don't deserve him. He didn't expect the shit fan to get aimed at him, and it did. And they unloaded on him, and he just suited up and said, "Fine, let's play. Let's play." And the thing is he's not. I mean, they keep trying to tar him as far right adjacent and that kind of stuff. And the squishiest you could ever call him is classical liberal. I mean, he's much more of a creature of the left. He's an artsy fartsy actor, musician. Come on. But he also has a functional brain box. And he does not, in that sense, the classical liberal, that speech suppression and the British are just embracing speech suppression as if it's mother's tit.
They don't know what freedom is. How do you know what you've lost if you've never had it?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
that's just a joke at the Brit Bongs.
Yeah, but I mean, since the Glorious Revolution, they've had that unwritten Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm.
And the culture of free speech existed. I mean, the United States was born out of a petri dish of a lot of British philosophy, not just French stuff. And it's sickening to see what's happening in the UK. And
it's horrible.
But I mean, they're talking about how awful it is to give platforms to these far right fuckers. I mean, my God, Have they forgotten where the free speech movement on college campuses came from in the U.S.?
Berkeley, right?
Berkeley? Come on. I mean, this is disgusting. It was a left argument for a very, very long period of time that people, that people should be able to say whatever the hell they wanted.
And the UK, Britain has that. It had a really large concentration of those classically liberal-minded people. And then when there are edicts that come down from on high, that these people turn around and go, wait, we didn't have a law enshrining freedom of speech or freedom of movement or these
No,
things?
because Parliament can't be bound like that.
And the people who know the law, they just grin and go, you didn't have shit.
Well, you just don't understand, because look at this poor woman. She claims that she was virtually groped in the metaverse.
The funniest thing I saw was the guy who was the editor of the Babylon Bee quote tweeted this with, I mean, it just, I've got to find the, I'll give you the link, because you have simply got to show this on screen. It is freaking glorious, Harry.
Are you sending it in private chat?
Yeah, I'll put it in private chat.
Is she hot?
Sounds
at least?
good.
Or
Well, in the
was she
metaverse, in the metaverse, everybody's hot.
Was she a 6-foot duck in the metaverse? Well, you don't know how they identify.
Oh,
in the
maybe
metaverse,
she,
Harry.
yeah, maybe she was a cute little puppy, and people thought like, oh, pet the puppy. And it was like, oh no, it's just.
Yeah, baby, pet that puppy.
There you go.
All right.
This.
Copy link. Change
Oh,
this.
North Koreans ban laughter.
Not going to send it.
Speaking of freedom.
So what am I looking for here?
What you've got on the screen, I was teabagged in Halo. That was his response to this.
Nice.
You had your feelings hurt in the virtual world.
Yeah.
Stop it. These people were as sick as the fucking Quidditch losers.
Okay. Well, your 5 minutes are up. I'm sorry you got groped in wherever. Let's see. Where are we for time? We're going to skip this pink news thing and go
once ran a
straight.
train on me in World of Warcraft. It was.
I'm no kidding. I mean, this is the damnedest thing I've ever seen.
That's something I've been ragging on for a while now too, Prospero, is that sense of competitiveness, the yes, somewhat serious but friendly ribbing that happened in gamer with quote unquote gamer talk is now it's now verboten. These companies, these game companies, will take away the product they sold you and the services you're allowed to sign up on to play these games. They will take that away from you for using, mean words.
Yeah. Well, on to a meaty thing. This is going to be something where I'm going to need Prospero's help with this, but we've got a couple different stories here. One, when the government hides spy cameras on your land, fight back in court. Yeah, this guy has a nice patch of private property and was really surprised when he discovered two spy cameras mounted on trees inside his property line where he lives, farms, and hunts. Now, there was also this thing, which I found, which is a taxidermist threatened with jail for refusing warrantless search.
Those cameras are his, by the way.
Yeah, both of these stories have to do with the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah.
And the government making the claim that in certain types of well-regulated businesses, they have the right to basically do whatever the hell they want in terms of poking around in your business.
Yep.
And that is the justification. We wouldn't want poachers doing things on your private land.
It's been primarily state law that has used the well-regulated business bullshit that came up out of SCOTUS to expand state power to poke around in people's business. It's the tragic thing is that we cannot rely on SCOTUS to see the compelling argument against it. They have been miserable on the Fourth Amendment.
Can we say Roberts was a mistake?
Roberts was a
Yes.
mistake. Amy Coney Barrett was a mistake. And I think Kavanaugh was a mistake. Gorsuch remains to be seen. The only people you're going to see who genuinely will argue about the fundamental truth and principle of the law anymore are Thomas and Alito.
Yeah, maybe Gorsuch.
Maybe Gorsuch, like I said, he remains to be seen. But Kavanaugh and Comey are big government, squishy fucking conservatives. And Roberts is a douche canoe. Roberts makes Kennedy look like he's a principled man.
Well, can you give people the quick cliff notes on what the Fourth Amendment is actually about?
That people are to be secure in their persons and their property against an unwarranted intrusion by the government.
It's where privacy comes. It's the emanation that people talk about. It's where the right to private space and expectations of privacy all come from the Fourth Amendment.
Unless it's the 14th and you're the Burger Court and it's Roe v. Wade.
But
it's the Fourth Amendment that is you're protected against warrantless seizure of your goods, intrusion into your property. It's where search warrants get their genesis. But it has been
also no quartering of foreign troops.
That's the Third Amendment.
Well, is that third? I always get them confused. Okay.
Yeah,
that's not the fourth. All right.
Yeah. Here's the problem. There have been things there have been strong SCOTUS decisions in support of the Fourth Amendment, but there have been a lot of decisions against and in favor of government power. The fact that you can have blood taken from you as a, in quotes, drunk driver was established by the Supreme Court that's not an invasion of your person. When, that was upheld by the Warren Court, that it was perfectly fine to seize someone's bodily fluids without a warrant.
Doesn't get more personal than that.
Yeah, you don't. And,
Ooh, he's a southpaw.
I mean, I'd argue that the Patriot Act is unconstitutional almost in its entirety. But even originalists like Scalia, bless his heart, one of the single greatest disappointments of my adult life was how pathetic he was of the Fourth Amendment at times. The compelling argument of public safety is a very, very slippery slope, and most of it is nonsense. Almost all of these things can be done in a reasonably timely fashion.
Well, usually when the government is claiming any kind of extraordinary privileges, it's almost always nonsense.
Yeah.
Whether it's, we took this money because we thought that you might be going to buy drugs with it. And because that seems like a lot of cash for little old you to be wandering around with, so they just take stuff. Yeah. They don't charge people; they just take stuff. And sorry, Skep, we were going to say something.
Well, no, basically the same thing that you were. That is it's not just a slippery slope. That is a bobsled track.
Yeah.
I mean, you really, there is nothing holding you back to go into deeply unconstitutional territory.
I am glad a public law advocacy group is representing these two men. I am glad they are bringing these cases to the forefront and shining the light on them. But I will have to tell you that if any of these march their way up to the Supreme Court, I am not optimistic.
Yeah, they enjoy their government power far too much, and it's a real problem.
Well, the Supreme Court decided from jump under Marshall that they could intrude into the political, and they continued to intrude into the political. They intrude all up in the Constitution. For every decision like Miranda, which gives you hope in civil liberties.
Well, let me
decisions that
let me play this little bit of audio if that's okay, just a little bit here, because this lawyer does a pretty good job of talking about it, because they've been going beyond the 3 well-regulated areas that they talked about. because they just, whenever the government finds a tool, they push it to the absolute breaking point if it comes to screwing you over.
To, in essence, look anywhere he wants.
But that's not true. People don't lose their Fourth Amendment rights when they open a business, which means that wildlife officers have to get a warrant before barging into Jeremy's shop without his consent. After all, private property isn't really yours if government officials can snoop around whenever and wherever they want. The Institute for Justice is representing Jeremy.
Good job, Institute for Justice. People have said to me, people who've looked at my taxes and said, Harry, why don't you take a home office deduction? Because you have a home office. Why don't you take that? And I said, because I'm not a complete idiot. I will always have a separate place where all of my records are kept. Because the last thing in the world I need are people from the government showing up saying they need to audit my records as part of a sales tax audit or any other damn thing.
They'll search your whole house.
They will search my whole house, and they can just get bent. That's why I will never use my domicile as my business address.
And what's egregious about this is this guy has run this deer processing and taxidermy companies. He's run them for a good length of time, and the law in Ohio requires him to just keep records. He's kept records. Everything is, hunky-dory. But they've gotten a new officer for the region. This guy shows up when he's in the deer processing season. This was like the day after gun hunting season ended. And he shuts his taxidermy off business down during deer processing time because he does not have the time to operate both of them. His business was closed. He tells the guy, no, you can't go in my business because it's closed for the season. And the guy goes and gets the local prosecutor to file fucking charges against this guy.
Well, the guy didn't say anything. He just went away. And then next thing you know, the guy's got charges against him.
Yeah.
He could have said, well, he could have made his case for why he has to be let in. And the guy would have just probably complied. But the government doesn't care. And this inspector's got some small pee-pee energy going on. So he
does a
needs
prosecutor.
to feel good about
Filing charges against some guy for not letting you into a business is closed for the season.
Some kind of binger asshole.
Yeah.
In regards to the SCOTUS part of this, what we were talking about, I believed is one of the criticisms I had of the Trump administration, and somewhat of a failing of that type of populism, is that you have an outsider coming into the system, and completely unbeknownst to him that Amy Coney Barrett and the other guy Kavanaugh, and this is a criticism of United States conservatives as well. They were too much on Team Us, yay, let's go, let's win, let's get another one on the Supreme Court, without getting into much of the nitty-gritty of who these people were. And yes, it was primarily a fault of the media spinning it a certain way and not for their side to quote unquote win the right way.
It's very hard to find justices at a level to move up SCOTUS who have actual strong originalist chops anymore. It really is.
Yeah.
It was kind of an assumption. There was the gloss of coverage because she clerked for him. That kind of the halo of justice of Antonin Scalia laid over top of Amy Coney Barrett.
We need to do a Duncan Idaho on Robert Bork.
You and I talked about that, I think, at one point, where you were telling me these things about ACB, and I was like, okay, maybe that is a little bit more hopeful. But at the end of the day, back to my original point of Trump didn't know these things. He doesn't know the players. He didn't know about General Pussy Pants. What's his name? Millie?
Oh my God.
Yeah. He doesn't know people. So he's going on the recommendations of your establishment, what a lot of people today are calling rhinos, but they're the establishment Republicans.
Swamp critters.
That's the swamp that Trump was talking about. He didn't know who was a part of the swamp and who was on board with this notion of neoconservatism, this populist Trump movement, which people seem to like. Even if you're a little closer to center, you were like on board with this kind of stuff. Me as a liberal going, yeah, I love Trump. This is fucking great.
I have something else that's great. I think you're going to like this.
Who, Black Space Jesus?
No, New York orders Andrew Cuomo to return $5 million he made from his book deal.
No way.
Okay, so the rationale for this is that he may have used some government resources to put his stupid book together.
Not the resources about the
Whoopsies.
nursing home.
Yeah, I mean, so he had to get permission to make a little extra money on the side because he was a government official. It's not a big deal. When you work for the government at that kind of level, there's just a process. You need to say, I'm going to do this. It isn't going to conflict. And then somebody needs to get out the big rubber stamp that says approved, go make money. And then they hit it. And then he can go off and make his book and sell stuff. Well, the attorney general, who really, really, really wants to get the governor of New York, has decided she has such a huge hate boner for him.
Because she wants to be governor herself.
Yeah. So, New York Joint Commission on Public Ethics on Tuesday ordered ex-governor Andrew Cuomo to return the $5.1 million in profits he received from his book deal back to the state. The resolution was approved in a 12-1 vote just 1 month after members voted to revoke its prior approval of Cuomo's request to earn income outside his taxpayer's salary from the book.
Okay, so they approved this, and now they want the money.
Oh, yeah. If you work for the government, you have to do this. It's a perfunctory thing, usually. You just have to do some paperwork saying, this won't interfere with my duties or provide a conflict of interest.
There's one other thing that you have to satisfy in that paperwork, and it's something that they call the standards of conduct. And according to the standards of conduct, what the activity that you are about to undertake that you're asking permission to do must not have the potential for conveying the appearance of impropriety. I still remember the exact words. And so that's a very tough, it's a tougher test than you think it is. I've been through, I went through government contracting school and commercial industrial school, all that crap, when I was a finance officer. And that law is still on the books. It supposedly is applied, and that's probably what they're going after him on, is that he violated the standards of conduct.
No, what they're going after him on is they're saying the commission revoked its approval after concluding that the ex-governor violated his commitment not to use state resources or government employees to help put the book together.
Oh,
he basically
he misused
government resources in the production of the work.
That gives the appearance of a violation of the standards of conduct. That's what the basis of this maneuver is.
I don't know if that's standards of conduct or just outright government theft. That's misappropriation of government property.
You think that's misuse of government resources? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's misuse of government.
That's criminal.
That is criminal. So State Senate Republican appointee to the panel, David McNamara, good name, said Cuomo now lacks the legal authority to engage in outside activity and receive compensation in regard to the book. The commission found that any book profits should be handed over to the New York Attorney General Letitia James.
Cha-ching, right into her campaign fund.
Oh, man.
How sweet is that?
Yeah.
And she's evil too.
Yeah, that Cuomo sexual thing did not age well. Anyway,
so Cuomo doesn't get to misuse the taxpayer dollars. Letitia James does.
Oh, absolutely.
She totally will.
Absolutely. This is great. New York is just so fucking corrupt. I mean, it's like they're in competition with Illinois. It's awesome.
Their bench is deeper than Illinois, though.
Yeah, as soon as you have a government job where the office paneling is teak or better, you are on the gravy train.
Yeah,
it's straight up.
Yeah.
Getting on that government teak.
So let's see. Do we want to get into this? Sure, because I wouldn't take this from Prospero. California shouldn't follow Texas's flawed lead in thwarting constitutional rights. Well, essentially, Governor Goodhair here has decided that he is going to use the rationale for the Texas abortion bill and apply it to guns in California. Now, I'm just full disclosure. I don't think that the Texas abortion bill is. A lot of people are thinking it's this clever maneuver that they did, and it's like it's not. It's stupid, and it's stupid for Governor Goodhair to want to do the same thing too.
It's
Yeah,
one knee-jerk
science?
reaction responding to another knee-jerk reaction. We see
stupid
this unfurling over
ideas.
the last.
Yeah, stupid ideas draw politicians like flies. Or
Well,
draw to shit.
we see the pendulum swinging so
Yeah.
dramatically from one side, like with the New York. Who was it that was on the radio program caught saying, yeah, you know, if the birth happens, and you know we'll go into the other room and
Ralph
talk to
Northam.
Northam, thank you.
Governor of
You know,
Virginia.
we'll go talk and see if we want to keep
We'll
the
decide.
baby. What the?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Come
no.
on. Even people on the left should be looking at that and going, that is
That's okay.
disgusting.
Project Veritas is evil. Just remember that. Just
Of course.
as long as
It's
Real
evil.
journalism.
as long as
real
you hit the
journalism,
mark and
God
sing those
forbid.
lyrics, you're
so
good.
evil.
Yeah. So this is I don't know, we don't need to spend a whole lot of time getting into it, but I was just happy to run into a publication that was literally being fair and balanced. Kind of threw me off here for a
Yeah,
moment.
slapping both of them in the head, which
Yeah.
they deserve. The Texas law is nonsensical and it's not going to stand. And
Well, we'll put the link in the chat. I think Geodes has been in the chat supplying links somewhere. Has he?
He's
Please
around.
tell me
I
he
don't know if
has.
he's putting out the links just yet.
Here,
It'll all
I'll
be
put
in
this
the
here.
video
You guys
description
can look
after.
at it. It's okay. So Spudgun wants to know how the Texas bill is stupid. Prospero, would you like to handle this?
all right, can you scroll up for me to see the wording because they mention it in there. I don't have it committed to memory.
Okay.
You know, there's certain
Go
things
ahead.
annoy me to the point that I automatically forget them.
Again,
And I have read the reasoning of the Texas bill, but I just
As I understand it, the reasoning of the Texas bill is that they take the government people out of it. They're essentially just opening it up to the citizens in the state and not the government, because the government's not allowed to impinge on these rights. So they've just said, oh, well, we'll just make it a civil thing and we'll let independent people sue abortionists for like $10,000.
yeah.
For anybody who does, if you find out somebody performed an abortion after 6 weeks, well, you can sue them
Oh yeah, I mean it's
into oblivion.
cracking open the Pandora's box of tort.
Yep. And he wants to, and Governor Goodhair wants to do the same thing with guns in California. We're not going to get the government involved. We'll just let independent people sue all the gun companies into oblivion.
Yeah, great. Because
It's a terrible idea, regardless of what you apply it to.
that would be like the people at the parade suing the cars. It's just retarded.
Yeah.
It's absolutely retarded.
Well, that car killed, that SUV killed a bunch of people.
I know, according to all the news agencies. Jesus Christ.
Remember
It was
the-
carrying alcohol that was going to passively make people drunk.
Yeah,
Remember
no
the
kidding.
rhetoric that a lot of liberal-minded people used to make basically it acceptable, and that people on the right today are saying whatever happened to safe, legal, and rare. Like the whole thing's been going off the rails, and like again, I have to go back to this hyper partisan way to approach the issue. I mean, to me personally, it's not even a right or left kind of issue. It's kind of just a philosophical and moral issue. And yes, a lot of people I know are just like, no case, abortion should be just banned. But then I look at the other side and they're like, nah, they can have the baby, and if they don't want it after they have the birth, they can just do away with it. It's like, what?
You can put
They're
it in a
both
basket
crazy.
and leave it at the fire station.
Yeah.
or
Sure,
a monastery
yeah.
or whatever.
Just
Or my house.
name your
Yeah,
kid. No,
send
no
it to
kidding.
Jenna.
Yeah,
Send it to
Where we
Jenna, Road 1, Rhode Island.
Where we should all be coming together, people of logical, sound mind and logical thinking, go, okay, you know what? We're never going to agree on fundamental levels. Where can we come together and agree? And, you know, there's talks of, you know, well, heartbeat or this or that. You know, my personal view is like brainwaves. That's how we determine if someone is brain dead, if someone is legally dead. So why can't we use that as a metric of, you know, regardless of that, like we should.
How do you measure the
should
brain waves? How do you
people
measure
should be
brain waves?
People should be focused though, Skep, on where we can agree, as opposed to what California is doing about guns, or Texas is doing about abortion laws, or New York's doing about abortion laws, going to these extremes. It's like everybody's going crazy.
Well, if you go back and read Roe, and then you read legal arguments written by scads of lawyers, a lot of them on the left, criticizing Roe because of it being such shittily written law. It's made, a right manufactured out of whole cloth, no constitutional underpinning, specious arguments. Absolutely specious arguments being made. The whole thing was predicated on a fucking falsehood to begin with, but that's okay. It was for the right reason, said the person who brought the suit.
It's just funny because we are a lot more, across the nation up here in the glorious People's Republic of Kanakistan. Right, left, people are like, you know what? Yeah, abortion shouldn't be, contraception or whatever, but it is more accepted. And I think part of the reason is... Do
you have government funding for it?
Yes. The reason why... Well, because we have a socialized healthcare system.
Yeah,
but part of the reason why I believe it's less of an issue up here, abortion in general, is because we have such readily, easy access to the morning after pill.
Yeah.
You can go to the drugstore, get one.
Dude, the morning after pill is not even in the same category as like abortion.
No, it's not. It's not. But it's
lots and lots of fertilized eggs don't implant.
Sure,
in the womb.
It's that step you can take after the oopsie moment.
No, I understand. Well, you don't even know if there was an oopsie moment. You're simply saying if there was an oopsie, it won't implant. Yeah, I understand.
It as a euphemism, but I'm just saying, like, if you can do that without having to get to the point of, well, I'm just going to let this fertilize, and I think it just a personal opinion. I think it helps curtail people using it as a contraception.
You're not saying that they're equivalent. You're just saying
no.
Particular. Okay, I thought
beforehand to prevent people from
because that's like point. To my mind, equating there are people there are people of conscience who would say that the morning after pill was just as bad.
Yeah, they consider them abortifacients
because they would say that life begins at conception.
Exactly.
But they weren't conceived yet. It takes a day or two for the sperm to get up there.
Well, no, they're talking about the implantation of the fertilized egg, Jenna, interrupting the ability of that fertilized egg to potentially implant.
Well, all the sperm are male, so they swim really fast. That's just science.
except for that transgender that's kind of like lagging in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
Because even though I'm one of those dirty liberal types, obviously, I've proven my salt to at least my present company. I've been in situations where there was an oopsie moment, whatever that may mean, and just easily went to the drugstore, said, "Hey, we need to get that. We need Plan B."
Yeah.
Did you think you were
wham bam? Thank you, man. Because just to get I don't want to get too graphic, but like if a condom breaks or falls off or whatever, there's a plethora of things that can happen that you kind of go.
Yes, there are many failure modes that we do not have to enumerate.
This could lead to a potential pregnancy. Better safe than sorry, because it would break my heart, and it's not something that I would personally, morally, ethically condone. Is saying, oh well, we just don't want it, so oopsie, let's go get an abortion. I'd be like, whoa, what? No abortion, please. I mean, it's not to get too far into the rabbit hole, but there are other reasons where I'd be like, you know what, okay, maybe. But, in a case like that, I'd be like, no. And so to have that access to that pill, just to bring it back full circle, really saved in an instance in my life from having to go through the motions and then all that other unsavory stuff.
No, but if you had a bunch of abortions, you could go on Twitter and brag about it and talk about it as the best time of whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's not my body.
Speaking of children being abused, Pink News: Republican lawmakers want to make child drag shows illegal.
Yeah.
I would actually say,
Yay.
why don't we go one step further and just look at the laws about exploiting children, period?
Yes.
How about no Honey Boo Boo? How about no reality show on YouTube? Like, what was it? The people that were abusing their kids, making them, like pranking their kids.
Daddy 05.
Yeah, Daddy of 5. How about we just do away with all of this?
No, that's
Well,
poor child in that picture.
what about child actors?
Well,
They
that's
have
why you need some
the-
kind of rules.
Cuban law or the Cuban.
Yeah, but then on the same thing,
That's
they can say,
about the
oh, well,
earnings.
under that particular law, we can say this is exactly what's happening here with the drag show.
Yeah.
They're just performing, so they'll just use that as a.
Or what if Harry's friend, who's a boy who just really liked wearing dresses? I mean, that's something I take umbrage with a bill like this. It could be misused for just people who are just a little weird, like kids who are just a little weird. This boy likes wearing a dress, or this girl likes playing with GI Joes and trucks.
It's
Like
singling out drag shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the reason why this bill will never succeed.
Could we just publicly shame people who do this to children? Maybe that would be better.
Yeah, the good old days of
I mean, we used to
moral
just,
decency.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, we used to just
The
drag
good old days
these
weren't
people.
that good.
They weren't all that good, but I mean, at least we could drag people without everybody having to publicly scold you for having some kind of goddamn judgment.
Mhm.
Don't be judgmental. Oh, great. Well, then I have no judgment at all.
Well, Prospero, when we used to have like towns with 5,000 people, everybody knew everybody. There weren't enough people in that town who would want to see something like this that it's an issue.
Right.
It's only because we have the entire world being connected.
Yeah.
You need 5,000 weirdos that want to pay $10 to watch this online. Well, there's a lot of things that can be done that way.
Yeah,
because the world is so connected that the economics of stuff are different than they used to be. Sorry, Prospero. I mean, Functional. You get to go in a minute. Go ahead, Prospero.
It would take careful crafting to come up with a child exploitation law that would protect pageant kids and drag kids and this kind of stuff, and like the poor Downs kids who were doing drag and that kind. Oh my God.
Oh God.
Well, there are like little like 5-year-olds who learn Taekwondo and stuff and break tiny boards and do stuff. We don't want to have we do want to not. Well, I don't know what I want at this point. I mean, this is where I actually want to hear from Skep.
It's very, very difficult.
So let me hear from Functional, and then let's go to Skep as our libertarian in the room.
Closet.
No. He's not a closeted
ask,
libertarian. He's an actual libertarian.
I just wanted to quickly ask people on the panel, has anybody here been to a drag show? Because I have.
I haven't.
Oh yeah.
An
I used
adult
to go to Finocchio's in San Francisco.
They're based in sex and sexuality, correct?
Yes.
From your
it's like a burlesque kind of thing.
And kind of comedy too.
Yeah. But I mean, there is that element of sex and sexuality. Again, I have to bring up my own personal morals here that children should be the only protected class of human being because of things like that. You cannot interact with children in things that are based in sex and sexuality outside of educating them about the nuts and bolts and all that kind of thing. But like just in social settings like this, that's what to me a drag show is, and including a child into said drag show, it just boils down to, well, this is just, again, child exploitation, sexploitation.
So, Skep, are there types of performance that we, as the government, should prevent children from engaging in to protect them, or should we just let them buy gin and guns and stuff and drive cars when they're 5?
Of course there are.
Yeah.
Would you let a 9-year-old kid put on a wingsuit and fly close terrain, high speed, vertical flying? No. Okay. There's lots of things to protect kids from. Some of the reasons you protect them are physical. Some are psychological. and some, in the case of this stealth, this drag show based kind of grooming, which I think is mostly what's going on there. It is absolutely pernicious, and yes, the what part of the overall compact that we make as human beings and as people in the West is that children are special. They have special needs. They are a special asset of society, and they are due special protections that other people are not due. And part of that protection is to prevent them from being harmed by things they cannot understand, things they cannot give consent to, contracts into which they cannot enter, all the normal legal agreements and social agreements, contracts and compacts that we make in order to get along and experience the things that interest us. A child does not have the experience base to be protected from the harms to their development. That's the thing. It harms the developing child, and that's the critical thing that has to be protected. And so, yes, people call me a libertarian, and I do have libertarian sensibilities. It's even in my Twitter bio. But I'm not. I understand that you can only have liberty to the extent of someone else's nose. We have to live together. We have to sacrifice complete personal liberty, the liberty you would have of being the only person on your planet. You can do absolutely any fucking thing you want living amongst other people and producing a society that can sustain itself and develop and do thrive, basically, a thriving society. You will not have a thriving society if you are corrupting and harming the youth. That they're such a special asset of society, of culture.
Yeah, we protect kids from all kinds of things. Sorry, Jenna, go ahead, and then I'm going to move on to another article.
I actually was going to bring up what happens when these little kids that are being sexualized grow up and become adults and have to get jobs and but that's pretty much.
They go to work for the Spreckles Union School District.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure as hell don't go to work for the DNC.
Yeah.
But think about it. These kids could look back on all these things their parents made them do and be like, my potential boss is going to see this, but they're not going to be able to say anything or have a vote until they're 18 and can tell their parents where to go.
Yeah, and I think you were bringing up, was it the Jackie Coogan laws?
Yes.
Those are basically about not exploiting the kids financially. That's basically if the parent, if the child makes a lot of money, it's supposed to be held in trust and managed a certain way. Because Jackie Coogan was it the Our Gang Comedies /
Yes.
Little Rascals, and made a bunch of money, and the parents just spent it all.
Yeah, robbed the kid blind.
And
wasn't he also in the Addams Family?
Yes, he was.
Uncle
Fester.
Yeah, he had to make money the hard way, like going back to work and acting some more, because he would have had a lovely little nest egg. But his parents basically just ripped him off, and that inspired those laws to be created.
There's also laws about how long the kid can work and stuff. I believe,
Yeah.
That doesn't apply for this kid, or.
Yeah. I think we've already talked about the drag thing having a sort of a sexual component, or being kind of burlesque, I guess is the word I used for it. And having little kids, whether they're in drag or young women, performing in these types of things just crosses a line. I don't have a problem with telling kids that they have to wait until they're a little older and they understand what it is they're doing.
Because we do see some of the psychological and sometimes physical damage that happens in these quote-unquote normal pageant shows of predominantly young girls, almost exclusively girls.
I mean, I remember people were talking about this when Pretty Baby was made.
Oh, yeah, that.
You know, that it was rather disturbing to see a 12-year-old prostitute being portrayed by an actual child.
I can't remember. There was the Natalie Portman thing, and then there was the Brooke Shields thing. I'm not sure. The Brooke Shields was the Pretty Baby thing, right? And that was Brooke Shields' lovely mom pushing her into being in this thing. Yeah,
the one
terrible.
The one that she legally divorced, basically.
Yeah, good riddance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brooke Shields had one thing going for her. She was extremely bright, and
still is.
It still is, and had a pretty strong sense of herself and character, as did Jodie Foster. It's why they were successful coming out of Hollywood in an industry that has destroyed a number of children.
Yeah. Look what it did to Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, never go full Drew Barrymore.
Look at what it did to Corey Haim.
So, moving on to science, because we are running out of time. They found a bunch of water on Mars, which is awesome. In some of the deep canyons, spacecraft has actually discovered a lot of water.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, this opens up a lot of possibilities for exploration, because if you have power and you have water, you can make oxygen and hydrogen. So you can breathe it, and you can also have fuel. So I think it's kind of ridiculous to talk about terraforming Mars for a whole variety of reasons. But for future exploration, knowing that there's water there, like there's water at the poles on the moon, is a big deal, because it's really freaking expensive to take water and stick it in a rocket and launch it into space.
Yep.
If we can find it in space where we need to use it, that's a big deal.
And what's also cool, when I first read this article, was just in my own mind thinking, what could we learn that's inside this water from the history of Mars? What kind of microorganisms might we find, if any, that could give us a glimpse into what life, if there was any higher organisms on Mars, many
yeah, they survived the freezing. Yeah.
Well, this is not just a little bit of water. This is a lot of water. This is a lot of water. This is like this is a big deal. So the Valles Marineris is the Mariner Valley is huge. It's much bigger than the Grand Canyon on Earth. And they're saying that as much as 40% of the material near the surface could actually be water. That's awesome. Amazing. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm not sure there's anything more to say about that. Anybody? We good? Okay.
Aliens.
Yay.
Yes.
I wish The Martian had known that when Matt Damon was stuck on that.
That would have actually solved a lot of problems. NASA craft touches sun for first time, dives into atmosphere. The sun
went to second base.
Yeah, the sun. Well, kind of under the shirt, over the bra is about where we are at this point.
Jesus Christ!
The sun has its atmosphere, which is the photosphere, and there's a whole bunch of highly charged particles there. It is really, really hot. The main thing that you've got going for you is that it's not very dense. So even though you're in this soup of extremely hot particles, it doesn't feel quite as bad. But the amount of radiant energy coming from the sun is enormous. So this thing got really close to the sun's surface multiple times and was able to get some unique measurements that we've never had before. It has this very innovative heat shield that it keeps positioned between it and the sun when it does this. It's actually made of carbon, and it has a whole bunch of void space in there, sort of like a thermos bottle would have. And so as the spacecraft goes near the sun, it has to keep this heat shield positioned, because otherwise bad things will happen.
So many bad things in so many ways.
Yeah,
Crackle,
this is quite the engineering.
Crackle in transmission.
Now, this thing, to achieve this sort of quick orbit, because, you know, as it sort of skims across the near the sun, so that it doesn't just get sucked into it by the gravity, it has to be hauling ass.
Yes.
So it's going 100 kilometers a second, or 62 miles a second, in order to not get basically grabbed by the sun, and we'd never have a space probe at that point. They've done an awful lot of engineering to pull this whole thing off. It's a pretty cool thing. And this is the Parker Solar Probe.
Did they name the probe Maverick because he keeps buzzing the tower?
No.
That would have been a good name, though.
I just hope the guy doesn't wear an inappropriate Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, God forbid.
All right. Well,
what?
And we're on to the last thing, which is penis news.
Yay.
Okay, the sun has...
Those aren't penises.
The U.S. Sun has gone through...
Are you sure? I think I need to investigate deeper.
Pornhub's year in review data. So Pornhub has looked at all sorts of data about people's viewing habits. And congratulations, weebs. Hentai porn is now the most searched term globally in the United States and number 3 in the UK. Weebs, you've done it. Yep.
Good
so
God.
Pornographic Japanese cartoons are now the most searched for thing.
He's not talking about Weibo Jones.
No, I would never. I would never do this.
It's talking about weebs like hair.
Weebs.
Yeah. Watch the anime.
No.
Weeaboos.
The word is used to describe adult anime and manga material, of which hundreds of thousands are hosted on the platform. Hundreds of thousands. Jesus Christ.
Yay!
Cartoons are more fantastical than regular porn, says Dr. Don't Care. Director of Pornhub's Sexual Wellness Center. Oh, so much of this.
Oh, wait a minute.
Might be a little bit biased.
Lori Betito, also called Amber, on stage too. Yeah,
because it is not real, it can go further with less constraints that reality offers. Now that's a description of anime.
Magical
right
girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
So good job, weebs. You've finally done it. You've taken over the adult entertainment world.
Good for them. This is wholesome.
She's a psychologist. She's a clinical psychologist, which means I didn't go to medical school. Yeah. Okay.
Got it. That is our show for tonight. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
We're sorry.
Well, I was going to
no kidding.
Recite a couple of Kipling poems for you, but
you going to class it up, or do you feel like that's we're done?
No, we're done.
We're done.
We're done. We're so done.
Yeah, humanity was a mistake.
Jack Gunsky is part of the help of raising that hentai metric. Yeah, according to him, hentai is better than reality. Prove me wrong. So we now know your browsing habits. Thanks, Jack.
Well, when it comes to search things like this, I'm reminded of a quote by Terry Hatcher, who at one point was the most searched for image on the internet. And somebody said, well, how does it feel to know that there are 100,000 searches for your image on the baby internet? And she said, well, I guess it depends on whether it's 100,000 people searching for it one time or one person searching for it 100,000 times.
Leave it to a math major to put it that way.
And with that, the zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Night.